Fletcher! Come here and switch out me right hand. I'm finished with a hammer.
Alright, will you be needing the hook?
Nay, the one with a pincer grip. I need to hold this bloody thing down.
I could always hold it down for you.
I'd rather do it myself. I can't let myself go soft. I might not have hands, but if we're to face Persephone's bleeding heart, I'll have to be at my most disciplined. So please, let me do it. However much of a struggle it is, 'tis struggle that makes a man.
Suit yourself?
Alright, there we go. There, I got it in. You know, lass, when I was a young boy, me mother told me that I ought to learn to read and write. She said I had better go to school and learn. Otherwise, I'd spend all my life working with me hands like a pauper. She'd be proud to see me now. After the life I've lived, I'll never have to work with me hands again.
Aye. I wonder what my mother would say if she could see me now.
Knowing Scottish mothers, I presume she'd say, Fletcher, you're nearly 40 years of age, and you'll give me nice single grandchild. Get off of your bloody island and get you to Wading Chapel, or I pick you away for you myself, and she didn't be pretty.
Aye, that she would. It's almost as if you knew my mother personally. I could nearly hear her voice as you were speaking. It looks as though the repairs are nearly done. How much more work do you think she needs before she's ready to set sail?
I think we could finish it today or tomorrow, depending on how many finishing touches we want to put on her. Isn't she a beauty? She was ragged and barely holding together when I found her. I picked her out of a whole row of ships, and Lily had run aground. This ship was the only one that had the good fortune of not wrecking completely.
What'll we name her? She's not exactly a huge ship, but I feel she deserves a grandiose name.
I'll think about it. Aye, lass. Want to take a rest? I suppose we've worked long enough. If we work any harder, the ship will be finished before Lily can make the sails.
So, what was it like? I mean, living alone with Lily before we arrived.
Well, if truth be told, she was something frightening when I first saw her. I thought she'd be the death of me. I shudder at the thought of what she did to the original captain of this ship after she wrecked it. Fortunately for me, my gentlemanly charms kept me alive. Believe it or not, it was a great deal less frightening than working under Simon. That's for certain.
I don't suppose a man as fearsome as him would be at all amused by a pirate who fancies himself a gentleman.
Ha! I don't fancy myself a gentlemanly pirate. I am a gentleman pirate. If there still be ballrooms in this ruined world, I'll be sailing to every city and sweeping queens and duchesses right off of their feet.
Well then, be a gentleman and help the lass down.
Fletcher, is that there wound in your shoulder faring any better?
It's nearly healed completely, even with all the work we're doing. I didn't know what Lily puts in that salve, but it works like a miracle. Speaking of, lass, how fares that wound across your eyes? That's good to hear. I'm glad to know it's healing well. There's a few things Lily's got in her cave for the pain if you still need 'em. Claw, we're going back to the cave. I need to tend to the lass. We'll be back later.
I'll stay here. There's more work to be done. If you can, fill me flask with fresh water while you're in there.
Of course. We won't be too long. We'll bring you some food too. Aye, lass. Can you follow my voice? Or would you prefer to hold on to my arm? That's not a problem. Hold on to me and I'll lead you. You know, lass, I never thought I would have found myself breaking bread with that pirate. He's got away with words. Perhaps he was a gentleman after all. I suppose if you can forgive him for trying to steal you away, he could forgive me for taking his hand. Right here. Be careful with that step. Alright, lass. Sit down right here and take a sip of this. Lily said that it would help with the pain. Now, let me take those bandages from you. Let's see how you're doing. Well, damn me. The wound's scarred over completely. Not a sign of festering of any sort either. You healed smooth as silk. I know you cannot see yourself in a mirror, but you'll just have to trust me when I say that you're as lovely as ever. Do you ken if you can open your eyes yet? I dinna think your vision will ever come back to you, but if you can open them just a wee bit, we can find out. Would you give it a try? Alright, open your eyes. Take it slow. They've been closed over a month. It may feel strange after all this time. There. As slow as you want. I promise I'll not be frightened by what I see. Do you see me? Clouded shadows in odd shapes. And that's all? Well, it's better than nothing at all. Can you tell which of the shadows is me? Aye, that's me. Right before you. It feels just like you're looking right at me. Even if you can't quite see me. You haven't forgotten my face, have you? Aye, you can touch my face, if that'll help you to remember. See? My face is just as you remember it being. I haven't changed a bit. Except my beard isn't quite as neatly trimmed as it usually is. I hope you can forgive me. Were it my eyes that were taken, I'd never forget your face. Not in 1,000 years. I remember when I saw you frozen in that glacier. I knew there was something magical in you. I thought I'd found an angel. Even if that were the last I ever saw of you, I could never forget it. Nay, you haven't got to move your hands away from my face. They feel comforting, like something I haven't felt since I was a lad. And you haven't to speak either. I don't mind the quiet, as long as it's with you. Lass, you keep pulling me closer, as if you wanted to. Nay, I've wanted this from the very beginning. You haven't to say a word. Just kiss me. If you cannot see me, then feel me. Hold me closer.
Oi, Fletcher! What in the devil blaze is taking you so long? I see you're busy. I'll make myself scarce.
We were just,
Your mother would be proud. Oh, me Fletcher, you look like you'll be bringing me grandchildren after all.
Claw! How do you wish, you scoundrel?
Well then, Fletcher. Just how long has this affair been going on for?
I mean, just today?
Nay, that's not the answer. You'll never win her heart like that. They're supposed to say, why, it was ever since I first laid eyes upon her.
Shove it, Claw.
Well, since you were taking so long, I decided to stop by. I think our ship is seaworthy. Would you like to pay the siren a visit?
Aye. Lass, what do you say to that? Very well then, let's go. Through the underwater passage. Just hold on to me and kick with your legs after we plunge. Hold your breath, lass. Ahoy, Lily!
Oh, you came at just the right time. I just finished working on something.
Aye, as have we. Our ship is nearly ready to sail.
You must have been working terribly hard. You haven't visited me in days.
Aye, I do beg your pardon. I should have made time. Though I have an important voyage ahead of me, there's always time to sing a song. And it would be a shame to leave this island so hastily, without hearing your lovely voice before I go.
If I didn't know any better, I'd say you were trying to charm me. You know there's no romance left in my heart. Not since the last time I left Immortal.
Aye, that I know.
The last time? The lost mentioned that you once knew Blind Simon. Could it be? Are you talking about him?
Yes. We spent much time together. I didn't expect to come to love him. I used to think he was the one to fall in love first, but looking back, it was me. I just denied myself, because I already knew nothing good could come from love between a mortal and a monster.
How? Lily, I've seen what that man has done. Between you and him, there's only one monster, and it's him. He's cruel and willing to see all of the world swallowed up by the waves of the drift, if that's what it takes to keep himself in power.
I know, but with me, he was different. Before love, the first thing I felt for him was sympathy. For someone who was dealt a lot such as his to try and make an honest life and be beaten back down. It made me want to save him. Perhaps I'm too easily swayed by stories, especially when stories are all someone has. As he healed, I found a kindness in his heart, even under all the bitterness he had for his life. He told me he hated everything in the world but me. At the time, I found it charming, though I should have been worried. His words filled my heart so warmly that I overlooked the cruel seeds already growing in his mind.
And is that how you came to love him?
That was only the start of it. As time passed, I learned about him, and he learned about me. He admired me in a way, something that no one has ever felt for me before. I've only ever been desired, and only for as long as I was enchanting people with my song. But he wanted to hear me speak. He told me that though he was blind, he saw me as the most beautiful thing in the world. That he could have fallen in love with just my words, without ever having to see or touch me. I fell in love with that lonely sailor, but I knew nothing good would come of it. My duty is to gather and protect the treasures of Neptune until the coming of the next sovereign of the sea, a duty that I feared would outlast his mortal lifespan. I knew I would have to put my duty first and break his heart one day. It was inevitable.
So, you left him behind?
I did, but it wasn't a rash decision. When the sweat of Neptune chose its next master, I could sense it, and I knew I had to leave. I knew that meant the drift was coming, and I had to reunite the treasures before the world was completely overtaken by the drift. Now that your lass has the sweat, and I have the blood of Neptune, I could end the drift now, had I not been such a fool.
You gave him the tears of Neptune, didn't you? But why? If you were supposed to be guarding them.
The stone had already chosen him, though he didn't know it yet. I didn't have to give it to him despite that, but I still chose to. The day before I left, I told him that if we were ever separated from each other, that I would call out to him with my song. I was sure we'd meet again. I knew the power of the stone would let him sense the world around him without the need for eyes. I didn't know another way he could survive without my help, and I couldn't bear to leave him for dead. I loved him too dearly. So when I left, I left behind everything he'd need to set out on his own, including the Tears of Neptune. I knew there was something dark inside him, but I hoped that I had changed him. I suppose I was right. I changed him into a monster.
Well, did you ever find him again? I recall Blind Simon telling much of a siren, that he was sure he'd find again. But I never heard him actually say he found her.
I did. 3 years into the drift. I still hadn't found the lass and the sweat of Neptune she possessed. When I saw Simon again, all my worst fears had come true. He had turned cruel, using the power of the treasure to dominate and destroy. I could not bring myself to call out to him with my song. I couldn't bear to see what he had become, what I had turned him into. I could only turn away. I'd failed in my duty, and I'd failed in my love. My tears fell into the sea and faded into the tides. I had lost my love, and I was losing hope on ever finding the third treasure and its master.
Aye, but you have now. Lass is here with the sweat of Neptune. Does that mean that we can finally complete your duty? Won't the drift end once they're reunited?
Maybe, but it's easier said than done. Lass, have you learned to use that stone's power yet? With it, you might be evenly matched against Simon. You only feel its power sometimes. The first few times its powers awaken, it's only because you need it desperately. Your heart will call upon your treasure, and it will answer. It's not something that can be forced.
She may have used it before. When I found her, she was preserved in a glacier of ice, in a climate far too hot for water to freeze. Perhaps that was the stone's way of protecting her from the coming of the drift.
Perhaps. If only she could use it at will. You seek to challenge Simon, do you not? Battling him at sea is practically unwinnable. He can command the winds to stop your ship in its tracks. If she could control her power, she could command the ocean to freeze and stop his ship. I can think of no other way to challenge him in his dominion.
And what of the last stone? You have it, don't you?
That I do. You may see it if you wish. The blood of Neptune.
Oh, it's beautiful. Do you think we can use it against him?
No. I've already made the mistake of giving one of Neptune's treasures to a mortal before. The next person to receive this will be the new sovereign of the sea, once they're finally born.
Aye. Well then, if the end of the drift depends on us defeating Blind Simon, how do we stop him?
He's arrogant and proud. He takes so much pride in his command over the winds that he'll try and defeat you with his power before he tries to use his crew and their weapons against you. Use that advantage to get as close to him as possible, and pray that Lass can use her treasure when you need it most. You won't have to defeat his whole crew or capture his ship. You won't even have to kill him. All you need to do is take his eye and flee.
But Lily, how will we even find him? His ship could be anywhere in the blue infinity.
He's not far from here, just a few days sailing. I can sense when he disturbs the winds with his power, but he's sailing away, and you'll never be able to catch up to a ship that always has the wind on its side.
However will we challenge him, if we could never reach him?
He'll turn his ship around. I'll make sure of it. My song travels far, and I know a song that he could never resist.